cannot say for sure, even after almost 4 decades, what the spirits were trying to do. Were they trying to mold me into being a channel? I used to get loads and loads of writings filled with flattery that I was going to be some great psychic, better than Jean Dixon. She was the psychic back then, in the 60s and the 70s, maybe even the 50s. They mentioned Edgar Cayce, because like Edgar Cayce, I'm a dreamer. And Edgar Cayce had psychic power through dreams. So they would say I was going to be better, more powerful than Jean Dixon or Edgar Cayce. They do use the ambition and the vanity, the ego of human beings to maximize their purposes. After I got born again and had gone to the church, I heard similar kinds of things then. Not by automatic writing, but in dreams. I was to be another Joyce Meyer. Before I'd even heard of Joyce Meyer, I saw myself like her, walking up and down a stage with thousands of people, and I was teaching. Before I even knew that was possible, I saw myself in that kind of Joyce Meyer, Juanita Bynum role. Different strokes for different folks, but it all comes from the same source. And that source is the spirit of the Antichrist. Setting things up. Recently in my research, I discovered the reason why women, Christian women in particular, are reporting that while they sleep, demons come, fallen angels come and have sex with them. I was wondering, what is this all about? I wrote about it in my book, this one, The New Idolatry. I wrote about it here in a chapter called, it's not showing up too clearly here, called Demonic Copulation, Sex with Demons. I just recently found out what the motive of that is. The spirit of the Antichrist is grooming women, those who profess to be Christian. That's the irony. To have sex on a spirit plane with the Antichrist once he assumes power. That's the motive, the agenda behind women today reporting that entities enter into their rooms at night and sleep with them. I never had that happen to me. But I know I graduated from the Ouija board and the automatic writing to the enemy stepping into my body, using my larynx. I could feel my throat right here get tugged. My spirit would peel off of me like a banana, stand in the corner of a room, looking back at me sitting in a chair. My spirit is in the corner of the room, jumping up and down, screaming, "Let me back in! Let me back in!" I could hear the entity speak through my larynx, my voice, my throat, to those gathered in the group, pretending to be this one of the dead and that one of the dead. A lot like that movie, Ghosts, where Whoopi Goldberg, who played that part of Oda Mae, I was a lot like Oda Mae. The reason I was like Oda Mae was because it wasn't my power. I could not bring this thing on. They took me whenever they chose, whenever they felt like speaking. They moved me aside and they spoke. And I remembered it all. I heard it all. I could do absolutely nothing about it. They cut me loose when they decided to cut me loose. I remember once I was having a counseling session with a client for an agency, a social work agency I was working for. And I'm talking to the client, and then all of a sudden I go, huh? Something steps in, speaks to the client, talks to the client, says whatever it wants to say, and then steps out. And there I sit. So this kind of thing was happening to me. And I'm saying to myself, I'm looking for motive. And I'm saying to myself, were they trying to send me crazy? If they were, it didn't work. I loved the power. I would sit and go, trying to make it come back. And it only came back at its own timing. When these kinds of things happen, I would be literally exhausted physically. But I lusted after this, because in my flesh was a desire for prominence, prestige, and power. I call them the 3 deadly P's: prominence, prestige, power. I never had popularity. Never really desired it. I'm too much of a truth seeker for that. I don't kiss people's bottoms to get along. You either love me or you can't stand me. You hate me. People don't deal with me from a lukewarm level. So I've never had to deal with popularity. But prestige and power, these are the qualities. Ambition, a desire to ascend, to be unique. These are the subjects that they look for with this kind of thing, if they're going to use that person. Otherwise, they look for the passive to destroy. And I have no passivity in me. So I ask, were they grooming me for their own use? Were they grooming me to destroy me? At this point in time, I can't say that I am sure. The only thing I am sure of is that the Holy Spirit stepped into all of this mess and snatched me out of it in such a swift and powerful way that the spirit of the Antichrist had to regroup and reassess.